Hello.
Hi, Shannon.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Good.
I'm trying to figure this thing out.
Alrighty. You guys see me?
Hi.
What?
Yeah.
How you doing?
Hi.
See, you're a little blurry.
I'm just checking in to see that you're all okay.
We're good. We just signed on.
Claire.
Well, this is great. The fact that you're all here is exactly what we want to see. So that's brilliant.
Sam, I think it's because I would put the blind down behind you.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's too
Actually,
much light coming in.
Possibly Helena as well. If you could drop the blind on your left-hand side.
Yeah.
That's great.
Better.
Okay.
Perfect.
There you go.
And are you guys okay with sharing any slides that you want to share? Have you had a go at doing that?
Let me try that. We do have slides.
No, you're doing it all, so we won't be involved in this. So you'll be starting it, and ending it. So just keep a check on the time. In the top right-hand corner, you can see. So you can see obviously it's
Did it show?
Perfect.
You can see 4 out of 5.
If I present.
You can have on screen at one time.
Great.
Lovely, that's good.
Okay.
Okay, and so just so you can see it at the top there, you'll see it says 5 out of 6. That's because the recording counts as one person. So when I leave, it will drop down to 4 people. Okay, but that shows it so you can add another speaker and come and join you, or if you want to invite an audience member up, you can. And they will show up in the moderation panel at the bottom if an audience member requests to join, and you can select them or deny them.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Claire, will it automatically pop up if an audience member volunteers?
Sorry, say that again.
Will it automatically pop up if there's someone that is raising to be brought up to the panel?
Yeah, so what we would suggest is that you encourage people, if you want to join us, at request to share your audio, and then where it says moderation panel on the bottom left, it will pop up there for you. You'll see it sort of flagged. Okay, and obviously do bear in mind that obviously you've got 15 minutes before, but the audience can join you from 5 minutes before. So at 40 minutes past, the audience could be there watching you and you won't necessarily realize straight away. So keep your eye on that where it says at the top where you can see that number 6 next to the eye. When those numbers start going up, that means people are joining you.
Okay, great.
Cool.
And then a question, we have a poll, so I'm able to set that up right now, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. And in order for you to see the answers, you do have to participate in the poll yourself. So put it up there, let people participate, make sure you answer once, and then you'll see those results.
Okay, great.
Great. Right. I'm going to dash on to the next one now. If you have any problems, you can just message me directly or through the help desk.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
All right, then. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Do we want to try the poll really quickly, Helena?
Yeah. Let me find where that poll is and copy and paste it in. Intro, slide, overview, poll. Okay. What's your biggest pain point when it comes to handoffs between departments? Then the options. Wow, it really slows down my computer.
Yeah, I closed everything. I closed.
Okay, I think I need to do that. Everything's so slow.
Yeah, I literally have like 3 Google tabs open right now.
Okay.
And I turned off the front too.
Yeah, I just did. All right. Create poll.
I see it. Okay, great.
Okay, I just put I didn't put in all of the
Options.
yeah, but this is okay, cool. So what do I do now?
You have to vote in it to see the result.
Okay, so if I click one.
Yes.
All right. And then do you all see show results and create poll as well?
Yes.
Okay.
I voted for the top one. Do you guys see my vote? I voted for the first option.
I see one vote there. Yeah.
Okay. I also see a second vote on the second one.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess when we do this, we just have to give a couple seconds for people to drop answers in, because it looks like there might be like a slight lag.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Then I'm gonna delete this one.
Okay.
So I don't know if people can see that when they sign in. Okay, cool. So I guess while you are, let's see, I wonder if I could queue it up, because it takes a while for me to copy and paste back and forth.
Yeah. Do you wanna do that right now? And then I think as people are shuffling in for the first 2 minutes, I'll do the general, ask of like, happy to see all of you guys. Like, where are you guys coming from? Feel free to write it into the chat type of thing.
Okay, cool. And then while you do that, I'll set up the poll. Okay, and then the screen share is still there, right?
Screen share is definitely still there.
Okay, cool. And then let me click through and see if it's reacting.
How do you guys want to handle questions? Because I think, Helena, you prompted at the end. How do you guys want us to go about asking questions to answer? Like, we can either just go in order, or we can pick out a couple of the ones that are truly applicable to, we think, a wide audience.
Yeah.
Sam, by the way, your sound is not exactly what I call crystal clear. It doesn't sound like it normally does on Zoom. The only suggestion I have is to just slow down when you speak, or it can end up garbled.
Okay, good to know.
It's a little bit fuzzy.
Yeah.
Not crisp.
It's so weird because mine's crystal clear and I can't figure out why,
Is this better?
I'm not sure it's distance from computer. I think it's, for whatever reason, it's not a quality connection. The only thing I would just say is just try not to talk super fast.
Yeah, I'll slow down my speaking, and feel free to also, whoa, what is that? Okay. Feel free to also just let me know if at any point in time it completely breaks up. I will also say that I did have internet issues today. So at any point in time, if for some reason I'm like frozen, one, give me like 30 seconds to see if I can get it on. But number two, everything I want to say is also inside of the talk track. So feel free to take it away.
Okay.
Okay.
On this slide, this is where we each talk about the problems with handoffs. So once I do mine, I saw that there's one more card here for product finance and more.
By the way, those are not in this written doc that I have. So let me get a pen. Sorry.
Yeah, this is the separate deck that I'll be clicking through. So I'll say my portion. Sam, can I just hand it off to you to kind of continue on from here?
Actually, Helena, I think you can actually just follow through. It's like also for our product finance. And I'm like talking a lot throughout the presentation.
Okay, I'll do that.
And then it goes basically back to the panel after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
So these slides are up during the time when we're talking about all these pain points.
Yes.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. I didn't look at the slides because I have this printed doc I was mostly looking at.
Shannon, what I'm doing is I have the talk track doc next to this. I have it on separate windows. So I'm just going to be.
I've got a print. Because I don't trust the.
Question. Yeah. I'd say just follow along and like let's ad-lib on one another, because I think marketing didn't write out full talk tracks or anything like that. So we can always ad-lib and wing it.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think people are starting to join in. I think I see 7 now.
Yeah.
Okay. It's exciting.
Yes.
Have any of you guys used Hopin before?
Only as a viewer, as an audience member.
I'm getting Netflix vibes, like really mad Netflix vibes.
I think it's the branding of the Pulse.
Probably.
But I think they'll be happy that you picked up on that.
It definitely looks very like professionally done.
Yeah.
AK loves you.
That's always good to know. Yeah, I've heard great things about Hopin, and I think that there's going to be a ton more virtual conferences that are going to need a platform like this. So this is super awesome.
Yeah, it's such a cool way to like mimic a real conference vibe.
Yeah, 100%. I was like, once you get past like the technical difficulties, I'm like, wait, where's everything? It's like, okay, we're settling in now.
Yeah.
All right. We'll give a couple more minutes for everyone to shuffle in. Katie, great to see you joining from California. Welcome. Alrighty, thanks for joining everybody. I see everybody shuffling in. We have Katie from California, Emily joining from San Diego, and for a couple additional folks here, if you want to go into the chat right on the right-hand side and share with us where you're joining from, we'd love to learn. I was like, I am Sam, and I'm logging in from LA, California. So great to be connected here. Shannon, Helena, where are you guys?
I'm in San Francisco.
Super.
I was typing right as you asked that. Sorry. San Francisco, and I also live in Palm Springs.
Super awesome. How is it like in Palm Springs right now? Is it hot?
It's a beautiful hot. It's a very dry, beautiful hot.
Oh, that's nice.
That sounds super awesome. Hey, Stephanie from Bay Area. Great to have you join in today as well. Definitely temperatures warming up. It seems like across the entire globe as we're hitting the summer season. We'll give a couple more minutes for additional folks to trickle in. But with that, we're actually super excited for the topic that we have on board today for defragmenting your customer experience across different teams. So a couple more minutes as you're shuffling in, please feel free to put where you're logging in from. Awesome. We're seeing more and more people joining in. Hello, everyone. As people are shuffling in, we're holding off just for another minute or two. Feel free to write into the chat on where you're logging in from. We got people from San Diego, from Palm Springs, from the Bay Area, from LA. Super great to see all of you joining in today for Pulse 2021. Checking in from Dallas. Hey, Amanda. Awesome. We're excited to share, Amanda. We definitely have a Q&A here as well. So if you have questions throughout, feel free to pop them in. We want to keep this conversational and casual as well. So thank you so much for joining. Alrighty. So with that, let's go and get started. I'll start with some introductions first as more folks are shuffling in here. Hey, everybody, I'm Sam. I lead our global onboarding programs and services at Front. And I've been at Front for about 4.5 years now, and time has definitely flown. We always like to introduce ourselves with some fun facts here. So a couple of fun facts about me is I once drew a little animation, like cartoon type of picture, and someone got it actually tattooed on their ankle. So for forever, I will be a part of this person's body. That picture was actually a hot dog man. We had like a barbecue at work, and I drew a hot dog with like eyes and a smiley face, and now that's a part of an ankle tattoo. So that's a little bit about myself. Today we're here to talk about the customer experience, surprise, surprise. But more specifically, we're here to chat about unification between multiple teams. Because at the end of the day, in the customer success world, a lot of what we do involves bringing in people and different concepts together, whether it be sales, success, support, finance, or even product as well. We want to make sure that we're bringing together these benefits and usage to help our customer understand the value that they're getting out of our service and our tool. And in order to do all of that, it's really to making sure that we're unifying our team cohesively together to create that awesome experience for the customer. And so with that, that's why I'm hanging out here with Shannon from our sales team and Helena from our support team as well. So I'll hand it over to them to introduce themselves.
Hi, so I'm Shannon from the sales team. I'm an enterprise account manager at Front. I'm relatively new to Front, but some of you may know me from Gainsight, where I used to work, and have a fun little anecdote for you. Those of you that know Nick Mehta, who is the CEO of Gainsight, I think that I may have the record, either hold the #1 record or close to it for most customer visits in one day. I once picked up Nick in the lobby of a hotel in Salt Lake City about 7 in the morning, and then deposited him about 9 o'clock at night. And we visited, like, I think it was 14 customers in Salt Lake. The man is just crazy if you know him, as far as like his penchant for getting out there and meeting customer success people, and just had a great time. So anyway, it's great to be back and see some of my friends from Gainsight.
Wow, that is actually amazing. As someone that has gone on the road for 14 on-sites in a day, wow, that is stupendous, Shannon. How about you, Helena?
Hey everyone, I'm Helena. I am the program manager on the support team. I've been at Front a little over 3 years. I started as a support rep, and now I've transitioned into my current role, in which I run the help center, and I also onboard and train our support team. So that's all perfect fit for me, because my background is in teaching, and I love the work that I now do at Front. Because it brings over so many of the things that I love. And fun fact about me is that prior to Front, I taught in jail in San Francisco. And back to you, Sam.
That is no joke. I've definitely heard many stories of Helena actually teaching people in jail. Amazing trainer, amazing teacher, and she always has the best content as well. So with that, we'll talk a little bit more about what the flow of today's conversation is going to be like. So with that, we'll cover a couple of problems that teams are typically facing when they have fragmented customer experience and really why it happens. Then we'll cover the ways that we've worked on unifying cross-departmental collaboration at Front specifically, and both throughout our own product and the different functions that we see highly beneficial in passing information on, and processes that we've put in place as well. We'll do that by walking through the customer life cycle of, let's say, a fictional character, Carla Champion, and what her journey looks like through the sales process, through the customer success journey, and how they actually interact with other parts of the organization as well. We'll count how many touch points they actually have in this simplified customer journey, from being a prospect to being a top advocate. And when you think about it, there are a lot of handoffs on the way. I've spoken to so many people in the industry before. This is definitely something very difficult to nail down. So this is something we really want to focus on in our conversation. And along the way, we'll have our team share some real anecdotes and mishaps and how we created solutions for our customers. And hopefully this will spark some inspirational ways that you can also unify your own customer experience. So to get started here, we actually want to hear from you. We're going to do a poll here. So Helena, are you ready with that poll?
Yes, I just launched the poll.
Amazing. So let me also kind of walk you through what we have here. Before we dive into the biggest issues in the handoffs, let's hear from you. What's your biggest pain point when it comes to handoffs between departments? And you guys should be able to see the poll on the poll section where it says Pulse Unplugged. Underneath that, there should be a poll. Feel free to select the one that resonates the most with you, and we'll give a couple seconds for everybody to participate. And we'll definitely see votes trickling in. Looks like there's a front runner on this one as well.
This is very exciting.
This is actually really, really interesting. And the options for those that haven't seen it yet is there's wrong expectations and lack of clarity on customer goals. We have lack of context from previous conversations with the customer, difficulty collaborating efficiently between different teams, and siloed tools for communicating between teams and customers. So far, it looks like the majority is the second option over here, the lack of context from previous conversations with the customer, and that's definitely a topic that we're going to hit on today. So we are super excited to share a bit more about some of these pain points that we have experienced as well. For those that are still just trickling in right now, there is a poll. If you guys would like to participate, we'd love to hear from you on what your experience is thus far, right over there in the poll section. So with that, Helena, let's share a little bit more about what we have seen and issues that we've observed within Front. And I can kick it off in what we've observed from the Success organization as well. So I'd say definitely the first thing that I've observed is scattered data on the customer. We don't really have the data on why the customer purchased. It might be stored in many different tools, whether it's a CS tool like Gainsight or even Salesforce like a sales tool. And it's really difficult to pass along that information from one team to another team. And I think the impact of this on the customer is if we require them to repeat themselves, if we don't do a due diligence to make sure that this information is transferred on. I'd say lack of context. I think a lot of you guys are it looks like it's evened out now. Lack of context is also a huge one here. Oftentimes, like, our team doesn't have the full picture of what the customer needs are. And one thing that I've also learned is we don't necessarily have the visibility in how the customer may have described the situation, or being able to see the weight of the customer's words and kind of the internal coordination that may have happened to resolve a specific issue earlier on in the customer journey. It's something that we just didn't have context into before. And finally, this is probably something that a lot of organizations see from handoffs, especially from sales to success. It's about wrong expectations. And this is never a matter of, malicious intent by any means. It truly is just a matter of education on the different tools and processes that you have within your organization. And we really always want to make sure that the customer has the clear idea of what the process is, what the product also serves. So we have a very cohesive customer journey throughout the sales and success process. Now with that, I'd love Shannon to also dive into what he's seen as a problem with handoffs.
Yes, so I think from the sales perspective, one of the big ones is that we know the customer context exists. There may have been several other people who collaborated to, work with a customer, and then that there's just no easy way to pass that to the next team or the next person who's going to work on it. And as a result of that, that's all lost. From there, I think that it's very easy to set the wrong expectations because you don't realize that expectations were set differently in the past, and you go right to your, typical whatever your process is, but this customer actually had something different or unique for a very valid reason, and so we need to, set those. And then finally, I think that it's easy to lose sight of why did the customer originally come to solve this problem? What is the problem? Are they different or the same as other customers who usually make this purchase and so forth? So those are some of the major things that I see, Sam.
Yeah, super awesome. Helena, what have you seen? I think your experience is definitely sprinkled in throughout the customer life cycle. It's not just post-sale, since our support team is available to all prospects and customers as well.
Yeah, this is such a big, important area for us. So much so that it's in our interview process. We ask every candidate about handoffs and how they would handle handoffs. So for us, when a question comes to support, there's no, getting to know the customer, having a nice little chat about, like where are you located and what's your business model? Like there's none of that. When it gets to support, it's a problem. So we need to solve the problem ASAP. And the bulk of the time for support is actually spent trying to resolve the problem. So in doing that, we have to collaborate with a lot of different teams, and without proper handoff, and also from our end, handing it off to another team or to the engineering team or to loop in product and other people to resolve the issue. That all takes so much communication and just lots of little pieces coming together in the perfect way to resolve the issue. So that is one way in which we're trying to be efficient, but it's often very difficult to be when so many different moving pieces are at play. And also the lack of context on the goals, as both of you have mentioned, like support has no idea what this customer is trying to do. One big skill, like a superpower that support has, is like you have to be really good at reading between the lines. Like oftentimes a customer asks you a very specific question, but they're actually not even looking at the right feature to be addressing their goals in the first place. So you can't always just answer the question at face value. You have to be very good at understanding what the context is. So the more that we're able to gather from our teammates internally to understand what that context is, the more quickly we can serve the customer. And ultimately, at the end of the day, you want to just get back to them as soon as possible without, all this back and forth trying to understand the context. And also lastly, visibility into customer history is super important, especially for support. A lot of people are already frustrated at that point because you're talking to support about something that's wrong. So if this person has already talked to us like 5 times in the past 2 days about various issues or even the same issue, it would be very helpful to know that as the support person that's now handling this. And like if someone's already told them, have you restarted? Have you, updated? Like those are things, let's just skip those things right off the bat. If we already can see that, they've already been told this 10 times, So all of those things come together to kind of create the best possible experience if we're able to resolve all of these challenges along the way for handoffs. And also I think for product, finance, and other teams that then get looped in at different points in the process, it's important to them to also have that visibility into messaging. And they use all their own different tools that are completely usually separate from what support uses, Salesforce and all the HubSpots of the world. So it's really important for us to efficiently address this issue.
Absolutely. I think everything that you just mentioned, Helena, definitely resonates so much with what I've also observed in my experience as well. Curious on the audience, let us know if anything that we mentioned resonates with you. We would love your thoughts on that as well. And with that, Shannon, do you want to kind of take it away with the next component?
Yes, thanks, Sam. So now we'll transition to talk about how customer-facing teams are set up at front and how we solve some of the issues that we just discussed. So we've got our favorite customer, Carla Champion, and we're going to walk through her journey as just an example. So since it all starts with sales, I'll start first. So we are pretty typically arranged in terms of our sales team here at front. We have customers starting with sales development, and then they work with the account executive team, and later post-sale, we'll talk about that as well. But just looking at some of the people that our customer, Carla, is likely to come across in sales, first, she will always talk to either an inbound or outbound sales development representative. This is the initial person who sets up the meeting, figures out where the customer is, what their needs are, what their timeline is, all the basic things that we need to assign this to an account executive. So that's the first touch point. Then we go to the account executive who works with them for the remainder of their, evaluation through their requirements, et cetera. And from that point, we start to loop in more people like our technical help, like our solutions engineer. And we might also bring in a sales manager to instill confidence in the purchasing from front, et cetera. From there, the deal is signed. And you'll notice that Carla has talked with at least 4 teammates, being sales development, our AE, our SE, and our sales manager. And Sam, I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, definitely lots of touch points that already happen before a prospect even becomes a customer. Now, going into the world of success, I want to give some visibility into kind of how we've divvied up our teams here at Front. There's 3 major components in our post-sales structure. The first is our onboarding team. So our onboarding team is what I call workflow design experts. We help our customers get stood up to help achieve the goals that they have mentioned during the sales cycle in as quickly of a timeline as possible. Generally, our onboarding goes anywhere from 30 to 90 days, depending on the size and the complexity of the customer. And they work very, very closely with AEs and CSMs and AMs as well. So that's already generating an additional touch point with the customer in terms of the human or the village that it really takes to get our customers up and running. The second component here is success. We have a team of success managers that are truly the long-term product confidants with our customers. Our customers are always evolving their internal processes and looking for more sophisticated workflows over time. Our success team is incredibly critical to the long-term success up front for our customers. And finally, we also have an account management team. Our account management team is the primary quarterbacks of the account. I like to think of it as all of us are usually coming together to raise this customer and making sure that they have the best customer experience as a whole. They most importantly manage the commercial relationship with the client. And so together, what we typically call this is the account team. And the account team is comprised of the OM, the onboarding manager, the CSM, customer success manager, and the AM, the account manager. And they're all critical forces in the customer's life cycle as a whole. So going back to the concept of these handoffs and processes that we've put in place to mend them together, after a deal closes, there's actually several critical moments that happen to nail that handoff from sales to success. And the first thing that we've done is the AE sends off a handoff email to introduce the account team. And this email is actually baked into the product that we use within our own business. We have a message template that's basically pre-built already, and all we need to do is fill in the AM's name, CSM's name, OM's name, so that the AE doesn't need to think about how should I phrase this for this handoff. We know that it's going to be consistent from the get-go. The second thing here is another process that we put in place is filling out the handoff object in Salesforce. We use Salesforce as our system of record for any time we have customer data. And from there, we make sure that we have the full context of what the objectives and goals of the customer is. The requirement here is that we have the account team review the information that has been inputted in this handoff object in Salesforce, right? What are the positive business outcomes? What was the before scenario, after scenario? Making sure that we have a grasp on all the notes that we're taking throughout the sales cycle so we don't have the customer repeat themselves. It's super, super important. And from that component, we also want to make sure that we have visibility into what our customers have said to our AEs previously. One thing that we've done is there's an ability for us to be able to have visibility into the actual client communication and the internal coordination efforts that have happened to move a deal forward as well. Now, once that happens, we actually have a internal sync, and we've gone back and forth about this a lot at Front on whether or not it makes sense to have everybody come together to meet about the account to transfer knowledge. And where we've landed is, yes, it totally makes sense to put the time investment to make sure that we have the full visibility into what has been collected during the sales cycle so that the account team can make sure they have the right information going into that kickoff as well. So all the information that has been produced inside of the handoff doesn't go to a waste. We incorporate it into a section in our kickoff of what do we know and what do we want to know. This allows for us to validate some of the points that have been made, make adjustments accordingly based off of the customer's feedback, and also have additional discovery on where it could play during the implementation process as well. So go back to the use case of Carla Champion. Immediately after signing the commitment to move forward with Front, they're introduced actually to the full accounting, the OM, CSM, AM all together. We want everyone has context and they know that there is a village to support them as well. At this point in time, it's really critical to help us deliver what we know about the customer, what we want to know. And in my opinion, discovery is never ending since businesses are always evolving here. The largest tip that I have to nail a kickoff here is don't make the customer repeat themselves. Do the due diligence to read the notes in advance, create processes that help you create a cohesive structure for that customer lifecycle. Get alignment by validating what you know, what you need to know, and why, and give clarity on exactly what will happen next with the customer. What call is it that needs to happen? Is there any pre-work that's involved? Who needs to be involved in those subsequent meetings as well? Now, this just brings us into onboarding. There's definitely other points that also happen after the onboarding cycle. For instance, like the handoff from onboarding to success and account management, and the handoff from success and account management back to onboarding for any expansions that our onboarding team is going to be working on as well. With both of these additional touch points, there's two facets the way that we're always aiming to nail as well. The way I like to think about it is just internal communication and external communication. This internal coordination and communication effort is frequently needed to align on ownership on tasks and next steps, while the external communication helps make sure our customers know what's the status of their requests, any next steps that they need to take, overall alignment in the general partnership as well. And the best way we've seen the ability to weave these two facets together is through Front. And Front is a customer communication hub, which allows for us to bring kind of the customer context all into one place. We're able to meet the customer where they are, because typically the way we communicate is through email. We're able to see the emails, bring the team together amongst that email, and coordinate efforts accordingly. All of this is behind the scenes. It's not visible to the customer, so it allows for us to come off as a very professional team that's coordinated as well. Now, success is a definitely huge component of the customer journey and the touch points that we have as well. But we know that it doesn't end there. So Helena has a ton of insight in what her exposure is in support. So Helena, you want to take it away?
Yeah, so I can share a little bit about how the support team operates. We have a 3-tier escalation system. So we've got a tier 1, and in Front, which is what we work out of, you can think of it as our ticketing software, the language that other support teams are more commonly used to. So we use Front as our way to talk to customers, and we have a tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 inbox. Tier 1 is all of our technical support reps, which handle the majority of the issues that come in. They may come in internally, escalated from the account executives or onboarding managers when their customers write in. They might escalate something to us, or customers will write into us directly to our email. They might chat in. Anything that we are not able to answer, we then would escalate to tier 2, which is our support engineering team. Anything that they cannot handle gets escalated to tier 3, which is our Front engineering team. So that is kind of how we move the issues up the ladder if they're not able to be resolved. But even if we're just talking about tier 1, there's so much that already happens at that level that require very exquisite handoffs, processing that Front really does help us a lot with. So if we're going back to those challenges I had talked about earlier, where what that support sees. So for like lack of context on goals, for example, when support gets that, escalation for this frustrated customer and they're having an issue with some kind of bug, perhaps, we're able, support has a golden rule in which we say never escalate without context. And in fact, if support gets, this long thread that's escalated to us internally from let's say an OM without any context, and Sam knows, we will for sure message you back and say, hey, there's a lot of information here. Please distill down to what the issue actually is so that we can tackle the exact problem. Rather than, a lot of other things that are already happening on this thread. So having that context summarized in a very succinct comment within Front, and this again is internal only to us, the Front employees that are working on this case. We call ourselves Frontiers. So the people that are working on this case are we're able to see the comments. So when support gets that, we're able to understand, okay, this is what we need to focus on, and this is the issue. Visibility into customer history. This is another piece that support utilizes a lot to resolve this handoff challenge. So if we'll always look at the conversations that a customer has sent us within the past couple of days, in the past week or two. And that shows up as a conversation. Next to the conversation, there's a contact details panel that we can see, and it kind of just congregates all of the different conversations that the customer has sent to us in the past X number of days. So we have more context there. I would say that the biggest factor to helping us do our job, the bulk of our time is not spent, reading back on past things, because the comments and the quick summaries have already done that for us. But the bulk of our time is really spent troubleshooting and researching and reaching out to other teams, escalating when needed. So we often will need to work with the product team, the engineering team, sometimes the finance team, the billing team, when there are more complex issues happening. So in order to do that, we're collaborating back and forth very, very quickly, and we need to do that efficiently in order to find the resolution. So we'll share drafts, we'll help each other iron out anything in the drafts. We can snooze conversations to follow up with the customer. One of our really great pieces is that we can log bugs directly in Front, our app, and we're able to follow up with the customer when the bug gets resolved, which is always a magical moment for our customers when they receive a follow-up, 5 days later, that the bug that they reported has now been resolved. There's no guesswork to it. So we're able to also then ping internally the CSM, who is the account owner, and say, hey, we've resolved this, and the customer has gotten a response from us closing this out. So it's all very transparent, and it helps us kind of seamlessly have everything in one view of the whole conversation with this customer on this very topic. And I would say that even if for a company that maybe doesn't have a lot of these processes in place already for, how to log bugs or how to escalate or who to reach out to for what kind of issues, having something that allows you to quickly collaborate within the context of the issue is a lifesaver, because at least at the very bare minimum, that you can solve the issue by pinging the right people, and you can ping as many people as you want. It's all happening internally until you get the answer resolved, until you get the answer that you need. And so the other piece that comes along with that is one of the touch points that is not a human, but is also still very important, is our help center. So whenever we kind of spend some time resolving some kind of issue, as much as we can, we'll try to put it into the help center so that the next time this problem comes up, the customer knows how to resolve it themselves, if it's a case that the customer is able to resolve. Or it might be a very common workflow question that we just collaborated to create a solution for, and now we can document it. So putting that into the help center is an amazing solution that cuts down future work for the whole support team and for everyone, all the customer facing teams. So just in that kind of quick summary of what the customer does with the support team, we've at least touched 2 more touch points with, a support person. It might get escalated. It may have looped in a product manager to help us resolve the case, and et cetera. So let's say, for the sake of simplicity, that's added 2 touch points to this customer journey so far. And the customer is probably going to continue to talk to more people. Sam, do you know who this person might talk to next?
Yes, I think it's definitely going to be possibly someone from finance as well. And it's really, really common that there's different touch points from different parts of the organization. And what we'd like to do is always want to make sure that different people that are a part of the entire customer journey, we want to make sure that they have the full visibility into the conversation that is currently happening, whether it's about billing, whether it's a product request as well. So that's something to really keep in place. Oh, it looks like we have someone here. I think Stephanie. Hi, Stephanie. Can you hear us okay?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Do you want to take a moment to introduce yourself and what thoughts?
Yeah, so sorry. I do apologize. Oh, my camera is not working, but nice to meet everyone. My name is Stephanie. I'm the senior accountant here at Front, and I usually step in to answer all sorts of questions around billing and accounts from both the customer and the internal teams. So there are multiple ways for our billing team to kind of receive these questions from Front. In the case with Carla Champion, if Carla were to send an email directly to our billing alias, I may need further clarification from, say, the manager before applying to the customer. I can quickly just mention them. The manager can share a copy of the contract or link me again to any relevant conversations within the thread, and I can quickly click on those, get the information I need, and reply back to the customer with full context. Similarly, our billing team could get mentioned in an ongoing thread between Carla and, say, the CSM. It could be to provide like a copy of an invoice or help retry payment. At times we do get shared draft emails, so I can review that, update any billing information that needs correction, make sure everything's good to go before the CSM replies, and then they can carry on the conversation with the customer without actually having to introduce us into it.
Super awesome. Thanks for the share. We definitely like to tap on our accounting team's shoulders when there are different requests that come in. Also, the product team, for some more technical products, I think it's very common that I hear engineering is also involved in those conversations. So we found a very collaborative way to bring people in that is seamless to the customer that we highly recommend to all. So with that, as you probably have all seen, I think that the customer journey is truly a collaborative effort that we've been really trying to hit home here. It takes a village and so many people. Beyond of what we just said here today, you know your business the best. There's a lot of teams that are involved in communication with the customer. A lot of it we accomplish through Front, which is our product, but a lot of it also comes with the processes that we have set up as well. And I know that there's been a couple questions that have come through the chat that I've taken a moment to answer as well. I'm gonna dive in just a little bit here. I think as a growing business, there's always going to be discussions of whether or not it's worth the time investment or putting a process in place to get the context. What I really encourage in thinking about is like, will it impact the customer experience? Is the risk of you not doing it going to affect it in a negative way? And if the answer is like, yeah, it's gonna make a ding in the customer experience, it's worth to look at it another time to see if it makes sense to put in a process to communicate the context that your team has previously gathered already. Making sure that there's true communication, true handoffs are going to really bring your team to the next level. And also investing in products that allow for you to get the visibility that you may not have previously had is something that I would definitely encourage as well. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Helena. I think we're going to do some wrap-ups and Q&A. So Helena, feel free to take it away.
Cool. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. As we can all see, handoffs between teams it's a widespread issue for everyone, all of us. And we're all trying to provide an excellent customer experience. So it takes a cross-departmental effort to unify all of these different teams. We hope that you got some useful tips today and how we do things at Front. So we have a couple of minutes where we can take some Q&A about our processes here at Front, or if you have any of your, big departmental collaboration issues that you want to ask about, we can also help you brainstorm and help you resolve them as best as we can. I haven't read through the chat, so Sam, if you see some questions that you already want to tackle, or Shannon, please jump right in.
Yeah, I think that there was one lingering question that I didn't get a chance to answer yet, and it's from Nikki Olmstead on do we have templates for providing context? Or is it up to the internal team member to know what the context is needed? Yes, we have templates. I'd say this is something that should be a very collaborative effort between sales leaders and success leaders as a whole on what is absolutely critical to note down. Have those as required fields, whether it's in your CRM or another system as a whole. Make them required. Because this is going to be a point in time that is a true snapshot on where the customer is at. And from there, you can plan forth and what the subsequent steps you need to take are going to be. So yes, we absolutely have templated required fields that people need to fill out in advance. I'm glad it was helpful for you, Vishal. Awesome. And I'm just going to go over a couple other questions that were in the chat here. Feel free to elaborate or build on to any of the questions that are on here. If you have any questions yourself, feel free to submit that as well. There was a question about professional services and how we hand off between professional services. Professional services, in the way we see it up front, is truly custom integrations that may happen. We have an open API. A lot of customers that come through Front want to integrate Front to a custom channel or even a custom database of some sort, which means that there could be many permutations with how something is actually stood up. And a couple points that are super important in terms of the handoff process that, you know, is through from my learning and from my experience as well, is timing is really, really important. Understanding what is happening at what point in time and giving that clarity to the account team is going to benefit you a whole lot. There are definitely certain cases where there are unexpected events that may happen in the world of professional services because it is such a custom scope. Getting clarity on that scope is going to be really, really big, and making sure that there's alignment on any changes to your customer environment so that you guys are all in the loop with what's going on is really going to make sure that you have a smooth process as a whole. If anyone's doing migrations, I think a lot of the audience here is from SaaS companies and maybe dealing with migrations. Migrations is another professional services effort that I've seen as well, and making sure that there's clarity in what is being migrated, the timing of the migration, the impact of it as well. It is something to make sure that you have clarity on in advance. And as you guys are seeing more and more of the same type of scope of work, I'd say use that templated approach, right? Some things become more predictable as you see it more and more go through the specific cycle. So great question on that front. Any other new questions?
I don't believe so.
I think I'll touch on one other one that I thought was pretty interesting as well. It looks like there was a question about CSM handoffs as well. I think any growing organization has probably gone through different, we'll call ownerships throughout a customer lifecycle, and making sure that you're nailing that transfer in ownership is incredibly critical. Earlier on, I think when we were a younger company, I think we definitely tried to be super nimble about it. But as we've seen more and more cycles of customers getting transferred in ownership, we made it a point to make sure that there was time for we'll say it like the old CSM to chat with the new CSM on the context of the account. Make sure you're setting expectations internally on what information needs to be transferred over. Make sure you have a really good health score created as well, so you have a good pulse of where that customer is in their current life cycle. But I'd say most importantly, putting that process in place to make sure people are transferring knowledge and are open with the dialogue that has previously happened is going to be very, very critical in making sure that your customer doesn't feel the impact in the switch of ownership as well. Actually, I'm curious, like Shannon, Helena, any thoughts on that?
Go ahead, Shannon. I saw you unmute. There's always that awkward pause of like.
No, I'm sorry, not particularly.
Yeah, I think on the support side, we, you know, when it comes to the support, it's like a whole other world of work that now needs to be done. So for us to understand what, what the need to know stuff about this client is, just, that's all we need to know. It's just the basic context of what we need to be, what the goal is, really what we need to be aiming for. And then support is able to handle all the nitty gritty troubleshooting stuff and sending back the instructional things and all that stuff. But that piece of, if there are any, if this customer is in danger of leaving us, or they've already been very unhappy with this piece of the product, if there's anything like that, it's very crucial for us to know about.
Absolutely. I think that there was a question from Karina. Will the Unplugged sessions be posted on demand? I'm going to say I think so. I believe so. I think all of this is recorded, so I think people will be able to revisit this, but we can make sure that we're following with you in a separate thread as well. Great. Any other questions? We still have quite a few folks on the line. All questions are totally welcome. Happy to answer. We'll give a couple more minutes, seconds. Thanks, Katie. Yes, the session will be available on demand. Alrighty. Well, if there's no other topics, thank you guys so much for joining in. We love chatting with you guys, and I'll stick on for maybe another 2 minutes if there's anyone that wants to linger around to ask some additional questions in a little bit more of a private setting.
Nice to meet you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Alrighty, we're down to 20. Any questions? Thank you guys. Thank you guys for posting in the chat and being very active in the session as well. Thanks. Thanks for joining. Alrighty, I think that basically takes us to the bottom of the hour. It was great chatting with you, Shannon and Helena.
Thank you, Sam. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.